He walked through the familiar gates, taking a different route, nervous as ever. It was his first day of the UA Sports Festival. He could hear them already. The crowd, about 10,000 strong. He walks into the changing room pre-event, sitting and hitting his hand on his head. He had to give himself a little pep talk. He listened to music, full ball. He stopped by an angry-looking Bakugo. He looks up slowly, taking a single AirPod out of his ear to hear. Bakugo already yelling at him. You damn nerd! Why won't you ever fight me? You're a weak Deku, I'll show you that today. Deku rolls his eyes. Whatever, Bakugo. Putting his earphone back in and scrolling on his phone. They're taken by Azawa, leading them to the middle of the field. Mr. Midnight introduces them. The crowd goes crazy. It was packed. Deku looked around before his name was called. He had to do a speech? Oh shit, he forgot. He walked up slowly to the stage, trying to figure out something on the way. He walks up, looking around and speaking, talking about how much different it is being down in the field than looking it up, instead of being up there behind a TV screen watching. He shouts his mum out and tells everyone that he promises it'll be entertaining. Everyone goes nuts. Deku sighs with relief. They're lined up for the first challenge and the obstacle course is chosen. Deku's inside the tunnel, looking around at his competitors. Bakugo and Todoroki were his big threats. They both knew that too. He had to do something, and quick, to get the early lead. This is where training comes in. Deku realizes he can use his force behind him or on his body to help him accelerate them. He uses this to get a huge leap forward, and then as the bell goes off, Todoroki freezes the ground. Everyone getting stuck. Deku and Bakugo blasting off could break everyone else's holds. They rocket to first place, looking at each other as Deku grins and lands, bouncing once again, this time lower and more controlled. There was a 3-pointer up ahead. Oh, there was 3 0-pointers up ahead. He knew that he couldn't fight them yet. He had safe power. He rushed past them. They almost hit him, but he made it. Bakugo and Todoroki follow closely behind. They meet the huge pit. Now, this one's a bit of a pain. He didn't have control over his jump yet, so he couldn't jump to every island. So Deku had to take it slow. Bakugo and Todoroki breezing past it, making a ramp and blasting over. Deku takes his time, finally making it to the end and seeing Todoroki and Bakugo ages away. He has to do something special. He didn't know what to do. He sees a minefield ahead of him and the two of them fighting. Walking over, he knew what he had to do. Doing the same thing as in canon, he digs and mines up a couple of mines, using his quirk to stack them carefully before diving onto them. He goes flying right above the other two's head, using his quirk once again to give him a final rocket out of the gate. He gets first and the 1 million points. He forms the same team as in canon with Uraraka, and the same stuff goes down, but this time Deku was more prepared, making force field to keep people out and keeping people away from the headbands. The 1v1 portion begins. Deku walks up to the stage. He just had a talk with the tail guy from 1A. He knows Shinso's quirk, or at least he's guessing his quirk was some type of brainwashing. He goes in very cautious. The bell's going and Deku straight away forcing Shinso straight out of bounds. He didn't even get a word in. The crowd goes silent. Damn. They kind of hated to see someone go out like that. It was just harsh. Everyone cheered for them both. Deku helping him up, but not feeling bad in the slightest. The next round begins. Deku versus Todoroki. This goes a lot different. They were close, as they were teleported to the same spot in the USJ incident. Deku being saved by Todoroki. They looked at each other. They had to put that aside. Deku asked, You gonna use it? Todoroki looks at his father. Just to spite. They both grin and Todoroki uses both of his sides simultaneously. A trick that he had been training by himself. Endeavor talks. Finally, you have chosen the path of greatness. Deku looks at him. Shut up, old man. He made that quirk strong himself. This isn't your path of greatness, it's his. They attack in the middle. Deku destroying all the ice Todoroki put down and dodging the fire. It was a close match. Deku picking Todoroki up and trying to fling him out, but Todoroki would stay inside using his ice to counter. He didn't know how he could win. They continued on, Deku being pushed back ever so slightly before he was at the border. He looked down to see how close he was, seeing a geyser of ice approaching. He doesn't know what to do. His quirk was strong, but not that strong. He tried to make a force field in front of him, desperately, but it was no use. His flash frozen in place, being declared the loser of the match. Here scores Cannon and Todoroki and Bakugo a little better, but Bakugo still being pissed he didn't get to fight Deku or full power Todoroki, so he was fuming. The UA Sports Festival ends on a good note. Going back to class, they're shown the mountain of files ready for their choices. A mountain of files named internships. Deku chooses a strange one, feeling it was probably best for him and Todoroki, choosing Endeavor's agency. He didn't really have any pros he wanted to intern with on his list. All their quirks were just a little too different. If he was going to learn with the basics, why not learn them from the best of the best? They train and take their walk inside, meeting with Todoroki and talking with Endeavor's room. Endeavor immediately berates Deku for talking bad about him, being lucky he even agreed to do it in the first place, and that Deku was there just to train Todoroki. Deku already knew this, Loki having both headphones in already. They go on patrol, Deku noticing how quick two of them were out in the open. Deku was lacking in constant movement. He couldn't leap large bounds, but not change directions. Endeavor is curious about this, asking about his quirk. Deku explains it, and Endeavor has an idea actually. Their quirks aren't too dissimilar if you think about it. One shoots fire and one shoots force. If Deku could learn to control and minimize force fields on his hands and feet, firing off small ones instead of one big one, he could feasibly fly with his quirk. Deku was amazed. How didn't he think of that? How stupid. He tries this, actually getting himself off the ground pretty easily. He trains for this for the next few days and gets a handle of it. The fourth day begins. They're doing patrol down the streets of Hosu tonight. And they'll be their first real patrols, so be prepared. They get ready and head off, going through the streets pretty normally until they hear a large explosion. They make their way there, Deku getting quicker and seeing the Nomu there. Todoroki and Deku's eyes widen. They knew them. They faced them. They tell Endeavor about it, knowing something bad was happening around him. Endeavor tells Deku and Todoroki to assist with the other pros that have less than ideal quirks. They split up and Deku runs past an alleyway, smelling the smell of blood as he rushes by. He stops, walking backwards to see Stain about to send a knife through Ida. He forces his quirk into overdrive, compressing his fields into his feet and hands before rocketing towards Stain, forcing his blade to snap in half before pushing Stain away. He asks Ida what's happening. He says he's paralyzed, but it's not his fight. Deku sends his location once again to Todoroki and Endeavor, having a group chat with them both. He begins to fight with Stain, using his quirk to keep the distance, dodging all the blades that were thrown at him. He could control the environment better in this timeline, so Stain has a hard time has a harder time getting to him. He knew about he was about to be cut from the side. Well, he was about to be cut from the side. Stain hiding a knife before pouncing once again. Todoroki saving him. He thanks him for the save and they fight together. They are powered up even more than in canon, Deku making short work of Stain before Ida even wakens up. Endeavor makes his way to the pin too, seeing Stain and tying him up personally. Stain doesn't escape once again and they lock him up for good this time. Endeavor once again getting the props. They are reprimanded by the police, especially Ida, and sent back to school, finalizing the week off and going back to normal swing of things. Isaiah tells him almost straight away that after they are going to train once again, going to the training camp this time, everyone gets excited loading onto the bus and making their way there. Deku and his class go onto the bus and are dropped off at the top of the mountain. Isaiah and the cats are talking amongst themselves before one of them uses their quirks to push the class down the mountain and into the forest of death. They're told from the teachers who's still above the mountain that they have to head to the camp themselves and that they will be seeing them from there. The class groans. Todoroki, Bakugo, and Deku straight away rushing towards the camp. They make it there and are bummed out, eating and sleeping the first day off. They train for the rest of the 2 days. Deku training to compress the fields more, to use less energy whilst giving him more force. He's almost there, on the verge of figuring something out when the League of Villains attacks. Deku and the class notices smoke as they walk through the forest. The teacher oblivious as they're under the trees. Deku walks through the forest, looking around feeling uneasy. He hears a crack behind him. Looking to turn a villain, staring back at him. A man with blue flames and a charred face. Deku looks, feeling heat radiating from him. He jumps back, sticking his hand out and grabbing onto Darby, flinging him into the side of the trees. Darby slams into the trees, melting away into a gloop onto the floor. Deku was worried. This isn't good. He runs away the way he came from, trying to find the teachers again. Who the hell was that? He had to warn them. Deku rushes back, meeting the teachers. There's Vip. He looks on. The heroes were already fighting. What the hell? There's a full-blown attack going on. He sees a telepathic one fighting. Sticking his hand out once again, he grabs the villains and pushes him back, running to her and telling her to spread the message out. She does so, and they continue to fight. Deku rushes back to the forest and looks for any students to help. He comes up against Todoroki's group, who are running away from Dark Shadow. Deku starts running too, pushing Dark Shadow back every now and then until Todoroki comes. They group up and strategize before Bakugo is taken by the League. Deku looking back, Bakugo was gone. A man rushed away. Deku wasn't having it. Give him back! He screams, sending his hand out and closing his fist tight. The villain would feel his body creaking. Not good. Deku slams him to the floor before throwing him into the air. Todoroki sends a geyser at him. He drops Bakugo's marble. Realizing after getting knocked out, they grab Bakugo and rush away. Now, now, now that they knew what was happening, rushing back to the teachers, they tell them what's up after they're after Bakugo. Everyone's confused. The teacher's trying to call for backup, but having no signal. Now, Deku in this timeline doesn't save Koda. So do with that what you will. The League continue on, realizing that they didn't have the manpower to win, so they dipped once again, empty-handed this time. This annoys all for one. The class training camp is sent off early, and they go back to school, talking to the police as Momo tells them she planted a tracker. Showing the police this, they begin the raid. There's a knock at the door. The League, confused. Who ordered pizza? The door is busted down, and the heroes attack the building. All for one kind of expecting this, figuring they would follow a wing with another. He steps from the shadows, teleporting the League away before taking the heroes head on. He releases an aura, knocking most of the heroes out but Endeavor and All Might. Deku looks on the TV. Who the hell was this guy? What was this quirk? He just soloed like every one of the top 20 heroes all at once. This wasn't good. He wanted to do something, anything to help. He looked on, listening to the broadcast, watching as All Might fought the villain valiantly, in the end winning in a triumphant victory, going to a swift retirement afterwards. They sit in class a week after the incident. The League seemed to be taken care of. All Might was in retirement, but the next gen of heroes looked more promising than ever. I'm gonna skip the final exam. That shit's boring. Let's be real. Okay, they sit in class one day. Aizawa walking through the door, followed by 3 students. Deku recognizes them from the UA Sports Festival last year. They introduce themselves as the Big 3. Deku recognizes them from the UA Sports Festival. They introduce themselves as the Big 3, Mirio wanting to fight them. They walk down to a spare gym and begin to stretch, Aizawa telling Mirio to go easy on them. He vanishes without a trace. Deku seeing as his classmates are taken out one by one. What the? He can vanish from existence? Warp? What? He looks on intently, seeing him drop down before rocketing up, so he can slip through things. He grins, holding his hand up from behind the back of the class. He waits for Mirio to pop up again, seeing him, clenching his fist and sticking it upwards. Can't go down if you're in the sky. Mirio is ripped from the floor, being sent up into the sky, but ass naked. He covers his shit, just for good measure, sends a one-for-all smash at 80% at the rest of them to knock him out, including Deku. Nejire looks on at his quirk. She liked it. She wanted to